Everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Game 57 of the tournament where we are playing Vanarus. It is turn 45? 42. My god, I was off. Turn 42. We have completed Alteration 6. Yay! We've got a bunch of other little things going on, but hitting Alt 7 is a really big goal for us. Did a bunch of site searching, didn't find anything, unfortunately. Did more Firebird summoning, did some more Wolf summoning. We were the victim of an assassination attempt. This adventurer, no gear adventurer, up against this hearse. Let's see what happens. Holy shit! Hold up a second. Missed the first javelin. 26. Second javelin. 25 damage. Holy fuck. A plus 22 roll. Hot damn. Yikes. Alright, well, the poor Carboner lady got killed, but that was a nice snipe on that adventurer. Good job, Vanarusine Hearse. We attack in Starthenthorn. Consolidation of some Herdmen and some Militia. Up against 1 PD, that is going to get smashed pretty easily. And then we get to see a fight between Satis and Man, and I'm really excited to see kind of where this goes. So, over on the Satisian side, we have a smattering of units. We have a bunch of Elite Warriors, and a decent amount of the Sobek Guard and some of the Sobek Warriors. Got some Poison Slingers mixed in here, and we've also got a fair amount of Marshmasters. And we can see some of them, but not all of them. Some of them are Twiceborn, right? Also got a Ghoul back over there. They are up against a decently sized Manish army and a decent amount of PD as well. So a bunch of Knights of Man, a fair amount of Knights of Avalon, some Leogryphs, some Kushis, a big mass of PD. We've got a couple of monks in here, and we've got a smattering of other mages that we can see. The question is does Man have any sort of poison resistance? If they have poison resistance at this point, this amount of Satisian units is going to get smashed. And not all... So, I would say, right, like... I would say that that is kind of, like, intended with all these Marshmasters having Twiceborn, but the presence of all these Sobek Sacred Guard kind of dissuades that idea, along with the fact that there are Marshmasters here that are not Twiceborn, right? Like, this guy's not Twiceborn, and he has a Thistle Mace, right? This guy's not Twiceborn, he has a bunch of gems. Twiceborn, 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 Twiceborn. So that's 5 of them, 6, 7, 8. So 6 of the 8 are Twiceborn. So I would question why you would even bring the 2 non-Twiceborn if the intent was to get them killed, and I'd question why you'd bring all the Sacreds if the intent was to get them killed, right? Like, this seems strange to me, because this seems like both an undercommitment and an overcommitment. An undercommitment in the concept that this is an army designed to march into Man's territory and actually take territory from them. Right? In the concept that this is going to go siege Ulm for Satis. This is an undercommitment for that. But it's an overcommitment if this is just like a punitive force or a force that is designed to create whites, right? And there's even a white mage here as well, right? That is something that Satis wants to do. is throw their Marsh Masters into something while they're twice spawned, because these guys are pretty fucking expensive and have high upkeep cost. Plus, the white mages are quite good, right? But this is something that Satis often wants to do, and they can do it because of Foul Vapors. They can do it in a relatively punitive manner. So, for example, if this was just the 6 Marshmasters that are twice-born, and this contingent of elite warriors basically there to try to, like, make things take as long as possible, but you're pretty sure they're gonna die, then that would be, like, I would say, the correct amount of commitment for trying to be punitive against something of this nature. But again, the concept is if they have poison resistance, then they're all just going to die. But again, that's the concept of, 1, that gives Satis information, and 2, they don't lose their mages, they just get some white mages out of it, and they're like, oh, okay, well now we know X. The question is that the case? So let's see. Immediate movement. We've got Mass Regeneration coming out. Serpent Fang Arrows, Group Bark Skin, Foul Vapors is now up. Horde of Skeletons to try to help shield. Giant Warriors, Personal Poison Resistance. More Horde of Skeletons. There is no poison resistance coming out. There is no reason why man should not be painting their entire forces. They might not have Serpent's Blessing yet, sure. There's no reason why man, who has nature casters out of the gate, should not be painting their forces with Poison Ward. There's no reason. This is a lot. Satis is gonna get overwhelmed. But the entire time this is happening, the poison is stacking up. And they've got these Marshmasters here to continue to summon skeletons to try to just, chaff things up. Alright. They're routing. They're losing too much in the back. I guarantee it. Yeah, the man force is gonna start to rout. The only things really holding on are the Knights of Avalon due to their natural resistance to poison. Everything else is routing. Except these archers in the center. Okay, this is... I don't know if this is gonna be a full rout from man, but this is not gonna show. Almost all of these guys are dying to poison when they hit the wall. Dead, not dead. All of these little red blotches are deaths as they hit the wall. As all of the poison ticks on them, and yeah. Entirety of man's army is routed. There's not a lot of Satis left. The Knights of Avalon, ooh, some of them don't make it out. Even with their natural poison resistance, they still will start to take poison ticks here or there. And then when they hit, all of those poison ticks expire. That's wild. Okay, this is really interesting from both sides. I still okay, so Satis won that. I still maintain that this was both an overcommitment and an undercommitment from Satis. They killed 177 units and could kill, they won, so they do destroy all of the PD in this province. If they had brought less, they brought just the Elite Warriors, not the Sobek Sacred Guards, which they lost 17 of, or the Sobek Warriors. If they just brought the Elite Warriors, no need to bring the Poison Slingers either. Those are cap only, although, they might have helped expedite the process. They lost 4 Marshmasters. We can just go double check and see, were any of the ones that they lost the ones in the back. These two are the only ones. Oaken Army. Doesn't look like it. These guys are pretty far back there. Yeah. Okay, so these guys, neither of their the only Marshmasters that died were the individuals that had Twiceborn on them. So that is good. But now this force basically can't do anything, right? And they could have done this exact thing, not losing the 17 Sobek Sacred Guards and just losing the Elite Warriors, and not risking the untwiceborn Marshmasters, right? The other Marshmasters that were Twiceborn could have just done what the Marshmasters that weren't Twiceborn did. They might not have been as successful without the Sobek Sacred Guard, is the thing. And what they earned out of that is valuable, because this is a shit ton of PD. They did pop that. So there is some merit to it, but I think they still could have done a crazy amount of damage and still potentially won. It's just less of a guarantee. Especially, like, you see the whole Sobek Sacred Guards doing 93 kills type situation. And that is hard to refute. So, it's kind of that situation of Monday night quarterbacking type scenario of, I don't know what the intent of Satis was. So this might have been exactly what they wanted. But in my mind, it feels like it's an overcommitment for just trying to punitively hurt man, and it's obviously an undercommitment if this was intended to march on Ulm, right? That being said, I do not know why man is fighting Satis after having been foul vaporized multiple times without. Poison Ward is enchantment 4. It covers a 20 area of effect, and it is nature 2 with 1 gem to cost. He has... Okay, the Crones are obviously kind of pricey to do that, but the Mothers of Avalon have a 50% chance to be nature or glamour. He had multiple mothers in this. That is a Nature 3 Mother of Avalon. That is a Nature 2 Mother of Avalon. That is a Crone. That is a Nature 1. He has at least 3, maybe more casters here. That is a Nature 3. He has 4. He has at least 4 casters here that could be casting Poison Ward. And I get that some people are like, well, if you look at the stats here, Poison Ward or Foul Vapors isn't what killed 177 units, right? Like, do the math. That's 93, 10, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. These kills, plus, things like the actual skeletons getting killed, that's not going to get counted. A lot of these kills are to the Sobek Sacred Guard, basically. Yes, sure. But a lot of the damage comes from the Foul Vapors. The only reason, okay, maybe not the only reason. They have a massive halberd, so they are probably chopping people in half. But the point I'm trying to make is that the Foul Vapors is doing so much damage to everything that is not a Knight of Avalon or a Knight Commander. It is killing off PD. It is killing off Knights of Man. Even if it doesn't get the actual killing blow, it decreases their HP, right? It gets them in kill range of other things, and taking that damage causes things to rout, right? This, with those 4 casters painting just Poison Ward, not even Serpent's Blessing, just painting Poison Ward, this would have been man obliterating this force. And they still would have had to deal with the Sobek Sacred Guard. The Sobek Sacred Guard still would have made them pay a toll for it, right? But they probably would have killed all of them. And they would have had significantly less losses doing it because the poison would not have done so much damage. And I also don't know, I still don't know, if this shows... I don't know if the after battle report shows deaths that have popped as they flee on the after battle report. I think it does. I think it still counts as them dying in the battle rather than dying after the retreat. But dead, like, pop, 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 pop. All of those are popping. So many are popping, just hitting the end, unable to flee, because of that foul vapors. I know I'm harping on this. I realize it. But it's an enchantment 4 spell that he can natively cast, and it would absolutely make it to where... What other magic is he casting in? Let's look. Serpent Fang Arrows. Personal Bark Skin. Group Bark Skin. Moss Body. Serpent Fang Arrows is... Serpent Fang Arrows is enchantment 4. He has access to Poison Ward. He's just not casting it. That is a massive mistake. That is costing man this war with Satis. If man was casting that, one, they should be going for Serpent's Blessing, just because, you know, it's gonna be way easier for like a Crone of Avalon to just launch off Serpent's Blessing. Even though it's not as strong as Poison Ward, you'll slowly lose more life against it. But it's just way easier to paint, and you can still paint priority targets with Poison Ward over the top of Serpent's Blessing, right? So it's still an option. But if he was just painting Poison Ward in these fights, this would probably already be a Satisian loss. I understand, like, the first fight that happened being this concept of maybe he didn't have poison, maybe he just recently got Poison Ward because he hadn't gone up enchantment, and maybe he was like hoping that Satis hadn't hit Foul Vapors yet, etc., etc. I get that concept, but at this point I think this is the third big stack that we've seen that has gotten Foul Vapors, and he has Poison Ward. He has the counter to the whole thing. This amount of PD and these amount of troops, honestly, ignore the PD. These amount of troops, Knights of Avalon are great units, but he's only got so many of them, and if all of the other supporting units around them flee because they're dying to poison, then, you know, they're not going to be able to stick around and do the work. This is absolutely in man's hands to win against Satis. Obviously, right, like, as the game goes further, Satis will have more options, can have other tricks and traps and things to do. We saw they have Oaken Army, right? So they're high enough in alteration to cast Oaken Army. That means they are they're ahead of us, right? Like, they've already hit Alt 7. So that's good. That's very strong. We know they are at least Enchantment 6 and Alt 7. They're gonna have a lot of things to do online, especially as the game goes on. Man has the capabilities to win this fight. At least specifically talking about this battle, they have the capabilities to win this fight. And there's no reason for them to not be doing that. All of these stacks, sans the Leogryphs, because they're undisciplined, right? But like, the Kushis are disciplined units. The Knights of Avalon, the Knights of Man, those are all disciplined units. You could have them in big stacks and have one or two casters go Poison Ward, and the vast majority of those individuals are now going to be immune to what Satis is doing, and they'll be able to actually fight. And it's gonna cost Man this war overall. Okay, I've harped on that for too long. It's been 20 minutes. I probably spent fucking 12 talking about that, but it's such a massive thing. And it's important because it's the direction that the game's gonna go, right? We've taken control of Karnag. There was nothing there. We could have just pinged it with a scout, I now realize. I'm still unused to the whole indies being mobile kind of concept. Like when they crop up and attack a place and then leave the place, they basically leave nothing behind. So I wasn't sure about that, so I wanted to send in something just in case there was new PD there. We attack in Bogaton. Also, I need to do this before I get distracted. I want to clarify, right? Like, I'm not trying to be a jackass or rude or anything like that, right? Like, I'm not insulting the players or anything like that. It might just be that they don't know, right? It's entirely possible. This tournament was not some of the other tournaments have been restricted. You know, they've had like Dreamers rounds and things like that. It's possible that the individual in question just doesn't know about Poison Ward, or the way that Foul Vapors works in general, and that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with people not knowing about how things work in a game like this. It's a crazy complicated game. There's a lot going on. That is perfectly fine. I'm not trying to be insulting in any way, shape, form, or fashion when I talk about these battles, or the opinion of like, I don't understand why they're not doing X. But that's because it's from my objective, my view, right? So I don't know why they're not doing X. There could be a good reason why they're not doing X, because they might not know about it. That might be one reason, right? They might have other ideas of what they're trying to do, right? So that's entirely possible. But objectively, at the end of the day, they're losing these fights because they have access to poison resistance and they're not using it, right? We attack in Bogaton against a bunch of barbarians. We've got some Chewed Herdmen here. This should be a very easy matchup. Oh, they shattered immediately. Wow. Yeah, so no losses. That's pretty nice. Unexpected event in Iron Peaks. We lose population in a temple. This is my karma. So, fuck me. We lose Dominion in Vertland because there is a sectarian movement. That is unfortunate. In Dharmum, we get a Berserker Pelt, and in Vanarus, a treasure has been found. 895 gold, 2 fire gems, 2 air, 2 water, 2 earth, and an enchanted ring mail. That's pretty nice. Construction of the castle in Iron Peaks is completed. Construction of palisades in Gentle Woods is completed. Let's talk about what we're doing this turn. Chillin'. No, there's... We talked about this previously, and this is another reason I kind of harped on and focused on the Statisian man battle for a very long time, is because there's not really a whole lot else going on this turn. We're going to go try to get that temple back up in Iron Peaks because that is important. We're immediately setting about making a fortress in Gentle Woods. There's still this massive force here in Summer Bay, but we have a fort now, and I feel relatively good about the amount of units that are going to be here. And if he doesn't attack us, we're just going to continue to, recruit units into Gentle Woods, and we'll get to the point to where I don't think he's going to be able to challenge us. We are also contacting Draconians. We've dumped a bunch of air gems into that. I think that's going to be very valuable for us in the long run. I think Draconians are probably a little bit overpowered in the way that they functionally work. So that is a pretty big deal. We are cloud trapezing Ingvar on over to Gentle Woods, because he's potentially going to be useful for some things that we've got going on there. Also, sneaking more Vanabogs up in there. Every turn that goes by, while the force against us is increasing, I'm relatively confident that while our force is also increasing, I think we're adding more into the mix that I think is going to matter in the long run. So I think that's fine. We're reinforcing Starthenthorn. Our intention isn't to pressure Nidavellir here. It's just to hold and try to make sure that that is all okay. Full recruitment basically everywhere that we have. And we're, for probably the first time, turn 42, I don't feel pressured. The war against Satis and Man, the way that this is functionally working, I feel like Satis is going to win against Man. Because I feel like Man is not using the tools that they have available to them to actually, make the difference. At the same time, though, I feel like Satis is, again, under or over... my brain just blanked. Brain blanked. They're not putting enough in to the forces that they're sending to try to take territory from Man. I don't know if they're playing cautiously or if they're playing a long con or something like that, but basically it feels like Man is going to lose this because they're not utilizing the tools that are available to them, but Satis doesn't feel like they're putting the pedal to the metal. So I feel significantly less on the clock about this engagement than I have for the last 10 or 15 turns, basically. I honestly feel like at this point, with the amount of scaling that we have and the options that we're going to have available to us later on, I am not especially worried. Even if I think the way functionally that this is going to go, even if Satis wins, I think they're doing it in such a slow manner, and I'm over here complaining about slow. They're doing it in such a cautious manner that I think we're going to be done with Nidavellir by the time Satis is done with Ulmish territory, and even considering moving on Man. And at that point, we can probably attack Man ourselves. And at that point, I think we will have outscaled and it won't matter anymore. So basically, I'm significantly less concerned about the time pressure between Man and Satis. We're going to try to keep eyes on things because that, of course, could change. Man could march with a massive army next turn, and it could be painted with poison resistance, and all of a sudden it could actually be an issue for Satis. But, we'll see if that actually happens. So we're not really worried about Nidavellir at this point. I feel like we have outscaled them. I don't know that that's necessarily true. And it's kind of like, it's probably kind of silly of me to consider that when we know other people have higher research than us. It's very possible that Nidavellir also has their own plans and is trying to hit a specific goal and is going to slam me with this massive army. But now that we have a fort up here, I'm less worried about it ultimately. We've got some options in trying to defend things. For example, we can kind of like cloud trapeze air 2s into the mix. If they were to... We're not really patrolling, so we're not really going to lose a lot of units. If they were to come into things, we could cloud trapeze a fair number of units into the mix, and I think at the end of the day, it would go very solidly our way. Right? So I feel pretty confident in the position that we are in against Nidavellir. So we're pulling the trigger and we're going to start doing other shit. And by other shit, obviously we've been site searching for a while now, and that kind of is other shit. We could have been instead summoning things, right? We could have instead been putting gems towards actual immediate combat power. We have not been doing that. But namely, we are sending forces into the underground. We have a stack going to Umbra. This stack is bigger than is necessary, but again, I don't really feel especially concerned. So we're sending it down to Umbra to take that, and we're going down into the center scenario with another stack, and we have a force behind it that I think we're probably going to send down as well. So that is, I think, going to be a massive boon to us. Everyone else seems to be so distracted with the wars and engagements that they are in. Nidavellir and I haven't fought an actual battle in some turns now, and they are not taking pieces of territory, indie territory, in their lands. And so we are already bigger than Nidavellir is. If we go down into the underground and we take all of this, which no one is touching, we're gonna get huge. And I think, honestly, I don't think it's going to be much longer, right? When we get to Alt 7, I think we're just going to march on Nidavellir with Army of Fog. And I think that's it. I say Army of Fog. Fog Warriors. We won't... Army of Fog is 8. But we'll have Fog Warriors, and we'll be able to paint that decently easily. And I think when we have that... we're probably just going to smash Nidavellir. So, what is that, 4 turns away? Probably by turn 50, I expect we'll take the capital. That's kind of the intention. So, turn 50-ish, take the capital, spend, a couple of additional turns mopping things up. By turn 60, and obviously that's a ways away, but we're playing this very slow, right? Like, we're really burning this very slow. By turn 60, I'm hoping... all of Nidavellir is gone. And the intent there, again, is we'll have 2 full territories, which are massive territories in this game, right? Like, the territory that you're allotted in this map is so much bigger than it is in just a regular game, it feels like. But I also expect that we're going to have the entire underground, which is like an entire 3rd territory. And at the pace that Man and Satis are going, I don't expect either of them, even if it swings back in Man's direction, I don't expect either of them to have fully conquered the 3rd by that point. So we're going to have basically 3-ish full territories as scales, and I think we just walk it in at that point. So hopefully that's how it all turns out. It's entirely... I realize that I'm being especially casual about what other players can do, especially considering that we have seen some good tricks out of Satis. We have seen some good stuff out of Nidavellir. It is entirely possible that they are going to make me eat my fucking words, and that would be great. That would be great, because that's a part of the game, right? So hopefully that happens. I really do hope that happens. But in the meantime, we're chilling. Last 2 things to kind of cover. We are sending out the start of a blood hunting group in Griffin Rock. This is going to be slow, right? It's gonna take a while to actually get to the point to where we're getting anything out of it. But hopefully we will build things up. We'll get a decent little blood economy, and we'll try to make something out of it. And then we've got our Liko, who will land in Amber Fields next turn. So this little lady has Bringer of Fortune 10 or Bringer of Misfortune 10 and Cause Unrest 5. Again, I've talked about them previously. I think the best way to use them is actually have 3 or 4 of them march around and never sit still in someone's lands. That way they're less likely to get patrolled out, and they're just constantly causing a tick of unrest here, a tick of unrest there, You know, a chance for this misfortune event to happen here, a chance for this misfortune event to happen there. It's, I think, pretty decent. You can even march them around as a stack, but if you do that, it becomes way more obvious that something is happening. The more I think about these gals, the more I'm like, they're actually not bad. I could really consider putting gear on them to increase their stealthiness, to kind of like help keep them safe. Because they, honestly, 5 unrest and 10 misfortune is pretty rough. And if you stack them and you're getting, like, say, 20 unrest and 4 separate 10 misfortune events, that can be, I think, pretty devastating as they just kind of trudge around someone's territory. And then the person is trying to patrol them out, which is distracting units away from other things that they need to be doing. But also, like I said, if you put stealth gear on them, it can be very difficult to actually do that. Base stealth 60 is pretty good. You can get these gals over 100, I think, relatively easily. And that's pretty nice. So, we're not doing that currently, but it's something that maybe we consider later on. And right now, we're just hoping to kind of like be a little bit of an annoyance to Nidavellir, kind of just slow their roll a tad, and see how things go from there. Anyways, that's it for the turn. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. We will see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.